we open that up, see how that goes. Do this live, then I don't have to do another recording and then edit and upload. Let's go there. Put that up there. Come on. All right. Hey, kia ora, g'day, welcome back. Having a little bit of a blank-in event after I received this a couple of days ago. Actually, I think it was a couple of days ago, maybe 3 days ago. On Instagram, a link to this, the yarn. So they've got a little link there. Subscribe, www.theyarn.xyz. So somebody's kind enough to follow my channel over there in Perth sent me through this, and it was quite annoying actually. So I'm gonna have a read of it. I don't know if I haven't looked in to see if this is legit, but it seems like it is, and I wouldn't be surprised. But interested to hear people's thoughts. Here we go. Here from the yarn. The National Anti-Corruption Commission's inspector has shut down 2 investigations into former Commissioner Paul Brereton because he resigned and completing the draft reports would cost too much. So Paul Brereton, that wrinkly old twat that you can see on the screen there, who I guess in some way, shape or form is the instigator of the war crime allegations and stuff that have come through and or the report. He's also the twat that made exempt anybody, I think, from a captain or major and higher from being investigated because they wouldn't have had or they didn't have sufficient command and control, yet they were deemed to have sufficient command and control to be awarded awards for leadership and outstanding leadership and that sort of stuff. So I don't know, that seems a bit off and a bit stupid. But anyway, further down, it's got Gail Furness, SC, said significant public money. Sorry, so just before that as well. So he resigned and completing the draft reports into the investigation of the former commissioner would cost too much money or would cost too much. I assume they're talking about too much money. How does that work? You've just invested more than $310 million into a war crimes investigation into soldiers, and it's taken more than a decade, and it's eventually resulted in 2 arrests. No actual 2 arrests and 2 lots of charges, I guess, for each of those individuals, but no convictions, hasn't gone to trial yet, no convictions. So it's all right to spend 310 million bucks on that and then get an additional 40 or 50 million to carry on with those investigations, but you can't, like, have you run out of money? Have you used up all the money in terms of going after the Australian Defence Force members from SASR, or more so particularly Ben Roberts-Smith and Oliver Schultz, and whatever else that money's been funneled into and used for? Gail Furness SC said significant public money had already been spent and further expenditure could not be justified now that Brereton had left office. Well, how is it still justified when Ben Roberts-Smith is no longer serving in the military or in the regiment? He's retired. He had left. How is it any different? You're supposed to be the National Anti-Corruption Commission, but you're not going to investigate potential corruption because somebody has resigned from their post? Interesting. And also interesting, the timing of his resignation when these investigations started to come about. How does that work? The National Anti-Corruption Commission? I'd love to know. I don't see any mainstream media asking these people those sorts of questions. Why it's deemed it would cost too much and further expenditure could not be justified now that Brereton had left office. I would have thought it would warrant even more investigation and more spend, because I'm assuming you don't resign from a position like that unless you've got something to hide. It's just, yeah, it's nuts. The investigations had already reached the draft report stage. Instead of completing them, the public is being denied the findings. Wow. So this is from the yarn. The public is being denied the findings. So is that not available under the Freedom of Information Act, is it? Again, people can pick and choose, it seems, what is freely available, or what the people have a right to know and not know. One inquiry examined Brereton's work for the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force, while the National Anti-Corruption Commission handled defence-related corruption referrals. 98 defence referrals were received before he formally declared the conflict. Holy heck. So one inquiry examined Brereton's work for the Inspector General of the Anti-Corruption, handled defence-related corruption referrals. 98 defence referrals were received before he formally declared the conflict. What the truck is that all about? What, were you confused? It took 98 referrals to come through before you went, oh, actually, there might be a conflict here. And the legal question of whether he breached Commonwealth governance obligations will remain unresolved. How's that, Australia? Check that out. You have these wrinkly old twats like this clown in positions of trust and supposed ownership and accountability responsibility when it's time for that ownership and accountability to come to light and for leadership to be shown. You just resign. You just resign and put it down to, it'll cost too much money to investigate this guy, but we will spend $300 and nearly $50 million in going after soldiers that were sent away to go fight a war in another country, etc., etc. Pretty crazy. The second investigation concerned his conduct during an incident connected with 2 National Anti-Corruption Commission operations. So there's at least 3, so connected with another 2. Safety concerns could have been addressed through redactions and protected identities. They did not require the entire accountability process to be abandoned. Yeah, so that's a good point. So the second investigation concerned his conduct during an incident connected to 2 National Anti-Corruption Commission operations, and there were safety concerns. So yeah, like, just like those people in the housing market or whatever it is that's been going through the Senate, they handed in a whole bunch of redacted documents whereby the people from the Senate asking the questions didn't know what was in them because pretty much the whole thing was redacted. Crazy. Like, security concerns, we can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Brereton has not been cleared. Okay, Brereton has not been cleared. The investigations were stopped, okay, before final determinations were made. So he hasn't been cleared. He's no longer being investigated. The investigations were just stopped because, was it SC, what's the name? Gale, I assume. Gale Furnace, SC, because it cost too much money. Stopped before final determinations were made. Australians already paid for the evidence gathering, so that's a great point. Australian taxpayers have already paid for the evidence gathering, legal work, and draft reports, yet resignation has been allowed to end the scrutiny. Wow, far out. You'd think this is where a prime minister or somebody in a position of leadership would have a backbone and a spine and go, no, like, we're not dropping this. Blinken, pull your fingers out and get to work. Pull this bloody wrinkly sack of spuds in and let's get some questioning going and interrogate him. Like, get some answers. Taxpayers have paid for all this upfront work only to be denied getting any sort of results or the findings. I think it said earlier above. Already reached the draft. So instead of completing them, the public has been denied the findings. This is mad, Australia. What's this? Safety concerns. Did that. The investigations were stopped before final determinations were made. Australians did that, yet resignation has been allowed to end the scrutiny. The corruption watchdog was created to stop powerful officials escaping through secrecy. No, obviously not. Delay and retirement. Its inaugural commissioner resigned under investigation, and the investigations were then dropped with him. I see Skojo's got a comment in there. There's probably a whole bunch of other ones as well. Dude served the whole time a 20-year war was raging and never decided to deploy and have a go. Then when it was done, grilled us for not doing it properly. Well, allegedly not doing it properly. This is mad. Like, yeah, I jumped on here just because I got sent this. I'd read it and I thought, far out. I didn't even know this until one of the kind followers sent this through. But this is just pretty pathetic, disgusting, disgraceful behavior. Much like the look of this, the sack of spuds on the screen right now. I was going to say sack of something else, but maybe I won't, just for the purposes of this live. But anyway, see what you think. Peoples that might stumble upon this and decide to have some comments about this twat on the screen. Pretty average, if you ask me. So anyway, that aside, now I can go on and have a bit of a relax, maybe look at what I'm going to do some other reactions on. And those here in Aotearoa, enjoy your Matariki long weekend, or Matariki, depending on who you are and how you say it. But yeah, public holiday over here. So look after yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend. And yeah, wherever else you are in the world, enjoy wherever you are as well. Hopefully you're going into your weekend happy, healthy, and looking forward to what's ahead. So that being said, take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. All right. That's great too. Didn't get bombarded with a whole bunch. Well, not bombarded. There wasn't any questions or comments that come through. That's awesome.